Good day. Welcome again in today's session. You can call me Mr. M.Patrick in the YouTube, and you'll be able to subscribe to the channel so that we can continue learning together. If you are new, that is, if you are new to the channel. Good. Remember, this week we had a good time interaction with the fellow comrades, and we were looking into cost estimation. Now, we want now to see to practice here and see how this cost estimation works in real when we want now to bring it on the real thing or on the real life scenario, and how we can apply the same in case we meet it in an exam for the learners. Good. In cost estimation, we know very well cost estimation. There are two things we are going to focus here. We have one, cost estimation. Then we will also look into the cost forecasting. Cost estimation and cost forecasting. First, we'll start with the definition. Definition for cost estimation, we said, is a procedure used to measure cost. It's a procedure used to measure cost of various items used in the process of production. So here we are going to look into those methods we can use to do what? To estimate which cost are we going to incur while we are producing maybe certain units at a given maybe a period of time or a certain period of production. While we are estimating at that particular moment, we'll also have to look into the future. How do we look into the future? We are going to look into cost forecasting. We will also look into cost forecasting. Cost forecasting. Cost forecasting. Cost forecasting. First, cost forecasting, whereby we are going to look into this so that we can also do what? Be able to tell the cost that you are going to incur in future. That if we are producing these goods with this cost, or this total cost at this particular moment, what about at a certain period of time? What about at a certain period of time, or when we will be maybe producing, this time you're producing maybe 100 units and it costs you 500. What about when we will be producing maybe 300 units? What will be the cost of that? So that is the aim or the objective of today. So the definition of forecasting will say, is the process of accurately determining in advance the cost that will be incurred in the process of manufacturing a particular product. Over a given future period. So you realize we have various methods that are used in cost estimation and cost forecasting. And the first one is called accounts analysis. So some of the methods we are going to look into. So these are the methods. So the first one we look into now, the methods used in cost estimation and cost forecasting. Forecasting. Good. So we want to look into the method. So for the students, you can get a question here that explain 5 methods used in cost estimation and cost forecasting. 10 marks. Explain 5 methods used in cost estimation and cost forecasting. So 1, you'll have to look into what we call accounts analysis. Accounts analysis. or other books, you will refer to these methods: accounts inspection method, accounts inspection method, accounts inspection method. Then two, we'll also have another method that you have to look at. It's called the 2-point method. The 2-point method. The 2-point. Let me start. The one we are used to is called high-low method. High-low method. Now, other books we refer to is the 2 points method. The 2 points method. The 2 points. The 2 points. The 2 points method. The 2 points method. Good. Then the third method that we are going to discuss will have a regression analysis. Regression analysis. Regression analysis. Regression analysis. Regression analysis. Other books you refer to is least square method. Least square method. That is other books. If you get something called the least square method, you are good to go. Then we have another method that you have to know: graphical method. Graphical method. Graphical method. Graphical method. Then you have also to know another method called conference method. Conference method. Conference method. Then the last one we can refer to, it's called engineering method. Engineering method. Good. Engineering method. So these are methods that are used in cost estimation and cost forecasting. Cost estimation and cost forecasting. Good. Cost estimation and cost forecasting. Good. That's why I've said for the learners, we have to know that you'll get a question and an exam style question here. Style question that one, explain 6 methods. Explain 6 methods used in cost estimation and forecasting. That one will be 12 marks. Cost estimation and cost forecasting. So you'll have to look into accounts analysis, high-low method, regression analysis, graphical method, conference method, engineering method. Good. Now for today's session, I want us to look now in the practical example of 2 methods here, how we can use it to estimate cost and to do what? To do the forecasting. So I will pick 2. I'm going to pick high-low method, and I will pick the regression analysis. And I will only approach those 2 methods using a question, so that we can understand better. Good. So let us see how we can apply the 2 methods in a question, or in the business, or in the company of production, wherever you are. Maybe you are students, in case you meet it, how you can tackle it. Or you are in business, you want to forecast the cost that will be incurred while you are producing maybe certain units. Yeah? So these are the methods we are going to adapt to. Even these methods, they are not bad, but this one is for us to know. But the practical ones, I want us to apply these 2. We see how they work out. Good. Now, let's have a question. A question comes: the following data The following data relates to the outputs. The following data relates to the output and total cost of Patrick milk processor. The following data relates to the following data relates to Patrick milk processor over the past recent 6 months. Over the past recent 6 months. Recent 6 months. Over the past recent 6 months. Good. Now, the first period we have been told, so we'll do it faster. So we'll have period here. This is our data. Then we will have outputs. Outputs here. Outputs. Then we will have these outputs, they are in the units. They are in units. Then we will have total cost. Total cost. This total cost, they are in Kenyan shillings. Good. Done. So this is the data from Patrick Enterprise. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is the data that has been extracted from Patrick Milk Processor. So we want to see the we want to estimate the cost and to forecast the cost in the next maybe period that will be measured in the question. So let me give you the data now. So the first period, the guy produced, the first period we have units that were produced were 200, cost 900. The second period we had 300, 1,100, the cost. Third period we had 100, cost 700. Then we had in the fourth period, we had 400, cost 400 was 1,300. Then on the fifth period we had 300. Then the cost was 1,100. Then on the sixth period we had 500 units produced, and the cost was 1,500. The cost was 1,500. Good. Then we are required using the linear expression. Using the linear expression. Using the linear expression. Using the linear expression of the form y is equals to f plus bx. I'm going to tell you what are those. Compute cost per unit. Compute cost per unit. Compute cost per unit. Cost per unit and fixed cost. Good. Compute cost per unit and fixed cost using one high-low method. Using high-low method. Then two, you are being told using regression analysis. Regression analysis. Analysis. For the students, we have been given 6 marks here. Then here we have been given 7 marks. But for those in the business and the production, you just have to understand what is happening here so that we can apply it wherever we are. Good. Now, so we will start with the high-low method. And in high-low method, so the first one, I will start with the high-low method. So solution now. Solution, I'm going to start with the high-low method. High-low method. Good. So in high-low method, here it will just involve using the periods with the highest and the lowest output. So we are going to look the periods with the highest here in the output, the highest one, and we look where? We look then also the highest output and the lowest output. Also we come in the cost, we look the highest cost and the lowest cost. So this is that's why it's called high-low method. In the outputs, determine the highest output. Also, we'll determine the lowest output. The lowest output. Good. So one, we'll do what? So let's start. Let's start now. So the step one, in step one, you are required to do what? Step one, you are required now to identify the highest and the lowest output. Let us identify highest and lowest output. Good. So the highest output in this case, highest output, we have what? The highest output we have is what? 500. 500. Good. Then the lowest output we have is what? 100. The lowest output there. Lowest output we have 100. Good. So that is the first step. In the second step, also we identify the cost. Step 2. The step 2, you identify also the highest cost and the lowest cost. The highest cost and the lowest cost. Good. So the highest cost here is what? So we'll have to identify the highest and lowest cost. So you'll come here, the highest cost is here is what? 1500. So you'll say the highest cost is 1500. Lowest cost is what? Lowest cost for this case we have is 700. I can see we have it here, it's 700. So just see the steps, the way we are going. First, identify the highest output and lowest output. Second, identify the highest cost and the lowest cost. Now, we go ahead now to do what? After you have identified that, you find what we call now, we calculate the variable cost. We calculate the variable cost. So we want to calculate. Then step 3, after identifying that, we have to identify the variable cost. When I mentioned the variable cost and the fixed cost, I think we understand that. It is even in one of the videos we uploaded. Now, we have to calculate. Calculate the variable cost. The variable cost here. The variable cost. Good. The variable cost. The variable cost, in short, this one we always say the variable cost will keep changing depending on the level of the activity you are doing at that particular cost. It's not fixed. While unlike the fixed cost, this is the cost that is always constant. It cannot change depending even on what you are doing. It will never change. E.g. rent. or the management payment salary. But the variable cost, this one, e.g. the electricity bill, it will change depending on whatever the activity that is taking place in the, today it can be maybe 200, tomorrow it will be 300. Good. Now, so you have to determine the variable cost. And the variable cost, it is always initialized using a small b. If you see a small b, we will say variable cost. So to get variable cost, B, we always say to get variable cost is change in total cost, change in total cost, change in total cost. You divide by change in total cost, divide by change in output, divide by change in output, change in output. Total cost divided by change in output. When I say change in total cost, I mean we want to do what? You get the highest cost, you minus the lowest cost. When we say the change in output, we get the highest output, we minus the lowest output. So let us do it here. Change in total cost, we get back to the where we identify the cost. It was here. So we get the highest cost was 1500. 1500, you minus 700. That is what we mean, change in total cost. Then you divide by the output, change in output. The highest output was 500. The highest output was 500, and the lowest was 100. Good. So if you do that, you realize you'll have B is equals to 1500 minus 700. 1500 minus 700. You'll have what? You'll have 1500 minus 700. You'll have 800. 800 divided by 400. Good. So at the end of the day, our B, in this case, therefore, you will say, therefore, B is equals to what? B is equals to, or variable cost is equals to 2, because here it will be 1, 1. If you divide this, here 1, here 2. So it will be equals to Kenyan shilling, 2 shillings. 2 shillings. So that is our variable cost. That is our variable cost. This is our variable cost. 2 Kenyan shillings. 2 Kenyan shillings. Good. So I think you have seen how I identify the variable cost. Now, to identify the fixed cost now, because the next part, we have to identify the fixed cost. We have to identify the fixed cost. So let's move on the other part with the, because you have seen how we have got the variable cost is 2 shillings. So let us move on the other page so that we can see how we'll get what? We'll identify the fixed cost. Fixed cost. Fixed cost. Because, why fixed cost? I always say, we have the formula here. Y is equals to what? A plus B, X. Whereby, this Y represent the total cost. Total cost. This A represent the fixed cost. Fixed cost. Fixed cost. Then this B represent what? Variable cost. Variable cost. Then this X will represent what? Will represent the outputs. Possible outputs. Good. Outputs. Outputs. So you see, we have identified already the variable cost. So let us see how we are going to identify the fixed cost. The fixed cost. Good. Now, on the part of the fixed cost, so part that is part 4 on that question. You'll say step 4. Step 4. Step 4. On step 4, what you are doing, you have to do what? Calculate the fixed cost. 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 Good. Calculate the fixed cost, which is in the form of part A, because we are adhering to the formula that y is equals to a plus bx. So we want to identify that part. Good. Now what we'll do, we can here you can either use the highest. Remember, we were able to identify the highest cost and the highest and lowest cost, lowest output and the highest output. So you can either use the highest or the lowest output, highest or the lowest output level to calculate fixed cost, or you can use the lowest output and the highest output. Good. So let me write, because you remember very well, we had what? The output, the output here. We want to find now the total cost, and remember the other side, we identify the highest output, we had, the highest output we had 500 units, and the lowest output, we had 100 units. We had 100 units. We had 100 units. So you realize that what about the highest cost? The highest cost we had what? The highest cost we had 1500, and the lowest cost here we had what? The corresponding of 100 units was what? The corresponding cost for 100 units was 700. Good. So as I said, to identify the fixed cost, and the fixed cost we said is this one here. The fixed cost. This is the total cost. This is the variable cost. Good. So to identify the fixed cost, we can either use the highest or the lowest output level. The highest output or the lowest output. Let's see, how do we do now? Good. So let's start with the lowest output. Let us use the lowest output. We see if we'll get the same answer. Lowest output. And the lowest output here is what? This one here. We have for 700 units, cost of that, corresponding cost being 700. So let us use the lowest output. We see if how we can get the fixed cost. Now, using this formula, y is equals to a plus bx, I will come and say that my fixed cost, the total cost here, I will take the 700, the total cost of this 100 units, total cost is equals to A, because now the A is the one I'm identifying the fixed cost, plus B, we got it to, remember B, the variable cost, remember we got what? Variable cost, we were able to get as total Kenyan shillings, 2 Kenyan shillings. That was our variable cost. Our variable cost was 2 shillings. So it is here now. 2, I multiply by X. X we said is the units produced. So the total cost of 700, we are producing 100 units. So multiply by 100. Now, to get A, in this case will be what? Because this will have to come this way, so it will be 700 minus 2 multiplied by this, 200, minus 200. So our fixed cost in this case will be 500 Kenyan shillings. 500 Kenyan shillings. 500 Kenyan shillings. Good. What about if we use the highest cost? Let us see if we get the same answer. We use this one here. This has been applied here. Now let us now apply the highest cost. Let us now use the highest cost output. Good. What about the highest output? Let us see if we'll get the 500. The highest output, you'll go and pick what? Using the formula, we are now the total cost of 1500 is equals to A, the fixed cost we are identifying, plus B, we got variable cost was 2 Kenyan shillings multiplied by the corresponding units of 1500 was what? 500 multiplied by 500. Good. Multiplied by 500. So it will be, to get now A, in this case will be 1500 minus 2 multiplied by this, 1000. 1000, so 1000 will come this side, will be 1000 here. So our A will be 1500 minus 1000, you'll get what? 500. So you'll realize the same answer we have, here as a fixed cost. Fixed cost here is the same answer we have here. Either if you decide to use the lowest output or the highest output, you will get the same answer. You're going to get the same answer. You're going to get the same answer. Good. You're going to get the same answer. Good. You're going to get the same answer. So that is the high-low method. High-low method. High-low method. High-low method. Good. Now, you will say at the end of the day, you will summarize and say that the fixed cost, the variable, therefore, you'll say that, therefore, at the end of the day, we'll have our variable cost. You'll say our variable cost per unit, variable cost per unit will get as depending where you are doing, maybe it can be in Kenya or you are watching from where, depending the currency. For me, I can say Kenyan shillings to Kenyan shillings. And we say the variable cost, this is the cost that will keep changing depending on the level of activity or the activity. So it will keep on changing. Today it can be 5 shillings. Tomorrow it will be 10 shillings. It will keep changing. Then the fixed cost, the fixed cost in this case will have the fixed cost we have gotten as a Kenyan shilling 500, and we say the fixed cost is that cost that will never change. It will never change. It will never change. It will never change. It is just fixed despite the level of activity that is taking place or it's being carried out. So it's just there, that 500 Kenyan shillings. Good. So you have seen this. You can apply it even in whatever you are doing or wherever you are in the business or in the production, or for the students. You have seen the step. If you give those steps as you go downwards until you give us the summary of the end results, we have to be the same. So what you have gotten here using this method of high-low method, the same results, the same answers you have to get, especially when we are now going to use what? The line of best fit, or going to use the line of best fit or the regression analysis line. The regression analysis. So just hang on the channel as we are going now to look into the regression analysis, or you can call it the line of best fit. The line of best fit. So if you are new to the channel, just subscribe. That is what I can urge you, because we are going to upload. We still have more than a million videos we need to download on this channel, so that we can grow wherever we are. We can grow on the skills on hand, and we can know what is going on depending on the how we can account for the cost, and how we can classify for the cost, and how we can forecast the cost, and also we can estimate the cost. Good. For today, I just say bye-bye. Share out the video to others so that they can also do it, benefit.